Well, it's the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association, and we're a lobbying association that works for the industry, the oil and gas industry, in the state of Louisiana. We work to make sure that we've got good laws, good regulations, and an environment that our industry can survive in. Well, the oil and gas industry in Louisiana is literally the engine that drives the state. It truly is the main economic engine, an economic development engine that makes everything happen. Louisiana is an energy state, it has always been, and we're one of the largest producers of oil and natural gas in the United States. We have the largest natural gas field in the United States up in the Haynesville Shale. We provide all the natural gas to the petrochemical industry and the refineries, etc., in the state of Louisiana, which is, and we're an energy state. That's what we are.
Just being able to do business in the state right now, and how that's going to be done in light of the taxes and with the legacy lawsuits, I think is going to be very important.
What are the major issues facing the oil and gas industry in Louisiana?
Well, if I was going to pick my number one, it would be Louisiana's legal climate. Without question, that's one of the most significant issues that we have, is Louisiana's legal climate.
This publication we put out that we call Judicial Hellholes. I don't know if maybe some of you have heard of this. Unfortunately, Louisiana has, and certain parts of Louisiana have been part of that in the past. And that's a distinction that you really don't want to continue. You want to be in the part of the report where we talk about the improvements and the changes. But as I say to you and your industry, this is a key state, and I would say from our perspective, the energy industry broadly is the key industry and faces the key challenges that we want to highlight. Now, going back a few years, we have talked about the legacy lawsuits and the fundamental problems with the way these cases are brought, the problems that they create for you, your companies individually, the uncertainty, the delay, the fact that you could be in certain places facing enormous potential liability leads to decisions that probably you're really not very happy about making. But fixing that is obviously a key. I'd like to think that we played a little bit of a role from 1,000 miles away in trying to help identify this problem and help be a catalyst for some change.
Now, I also say it's like winning the lottery, because that's the plan with these legacy lawsuits. We got an 11-step plan to win this lottery.
Their plan starts with finding profitable targets to sue and inventing environmental concerns.
Okay, I'm going to focus on southern Louisiana, because southern Louisiana is where the salt domes are located. Called salt domes are where the oil and gas fields are located.
Now, they admit that salt domes create naturally occurring disturbances in Louisiana's Gulf environment.
Called salt domes impact the surface and near surface themselves. Just a natural occurrence that they're going to muck up the near surface and the surface where they're located.
So what's an ambitious trial lawyer to do? Drag Mother Nature into court?
But when I find these things, maybe I'm just going to contend that the oil companies did it. Not the salt dome. Tough name, God is defending. The oil companies did it.
The trick is, don't just sue any company. Find companies with deep pockets to sue.
When I sue someone and prevail, if they're just going to turn around and go belly up. So we got to look for those deep pockets.
Louisiana politicians could stop this trial lawyer plan. They could protect the environment without lawsuit abuse.
Southern Louisiana has a rich crop of deep pockets. Deep pockets. Deep pockets. Deep pockets.
We ran that commercial last year, not too long before legislation to deal with that issue was actually signed into law. We saw that as a way for us to be a constructive ally and supporter of the efforts that I think all of you in this room agree are necessary to have a balanced system and one that works for everybody.
One of the things I'm here today to say is that at the end of January of this year, the Louisiana Supreme Court basically undid an important law that was enacted last year by the legislature. It deals with what we call legacy lawsuits. These are cases that are being brought against energy producers when they look for energy on the land, alleging who knows what, going back decades, about possible contamination of the land. Not much information oftentimes comes out of these cases about what actually was done, but the risk of enormous potential liability is such that oftentimes companies feel that they're forced to settle rather than actually vindicating their rights.
What kind of an economic impact do these legacy lawsuits have on Louisiana's economy?
Well, LSU released a study last year which found that the economic value of what's been lost to these lawsuits is over $10 billion to the state economy. That's an awful lot of money. We also, the estimate is that about $1.5 billion has been lost to individuals in terms of wages that they would have been paid, and that's 30,000 jobs. That's an awful lot of money for the state to be forfeiting in a challenging economy, particularly when it comes to the state's leading industry. This is really what drives the economy of the state of Louisiana.
What's your recommendation? What should Louisiana do?
Well, I think you're going to have to go back to the legislature. The legislature and the governor deserve credit for actually fixing the problem or coming up with a reasonable fix. The court has diminished that, if not completely undone it. But I think going back to the legislature, making the case for reform, and maybe being a little stronger and strengthening the answer that was developed before the legislature last year. We need to do more and make sure that this time the court can't undo it.
What other states have made progress in this area?
Well, a lot of states in the southeast, Texas, Oklahoma, I guess they're technically in the southwest, but also Florida has done a lot of good things. Mississippi under Haley Barbour has done a lot of great things on legal reform. Alabama is considering legislation. Mississippi last year put into law a very important reform of how the state attorney general hires outside counsel. So the entire, member of my staff said the Big 12 and the ACC states are doing a lot, and it's important for Louisiana to stay competitive in terms of having a fair civil justice system with some of the competitors in the region.
I can have a rig in Hackberry, Louisiana, working for Brian Osborne here with Gulfport. I can have a land rig, and 50 yards away I can be on a barge rig, have the exact same accident, a guy sprained his ankle, and on land he gets work comp benefits until he's ready to go back to work. On the water, he can sue me for $3 million for a sprained ankle, and there's lawyers that take that every day. And you know, the lawyers know that it's not a $3 million case, but they start there, and then you start settling, and they make their $150,000 after settlement. So that's what keeps me up at night is the lawsuits. I mean, you know that you can't watch an LSU or football game or a Saints game without every other commercial being these lawyers and posing us the foot stepping on you and all that.
I would have to say tort reform's very much on the top of the list, and the roundtable last year that we discussed kind of picked up on LOGA's efforts for legacy lawsuits. So, and we had a lot of passionate people talking specifically to that. Bruce Vincent made some comments I'll let Bruce convey to you, but a lot of negativity relative to the need for tort reform and the litigative atmosphere in Louisiana.
Well, there's going to have to be some reform. I mean, legislators, the governor, the people need to get fed up with the legal system that we have in the state.
There are some deductions and exemptions that are basically making sure that you don't double tax investment and that you don't double tax business investment. So, while some deductions and credits accumulate over time and are not necessary, and we're better off abolishing if you abolish the state income tax, you don't have deductions and credits as part of the state income tax. So one needs to look both at the national level and at the state level, both on the positive and negative changes that take place in tax reform, and key to look and say, is this pro-growth, and also does it not discriminate against oil and natural gas industry.
There's 468 exemptions altogether. That's all exemptions all through all businesses. The oil and gas industry has 23 of those, and most all of those are very important to the industry that that provides us with the normal things that most all businesses get. So, yeah, it's very important to us.
The proposal by the governor is to have a revenue neutral reform that gets rid of the personal and corporate income tax. I think that overall is an extremely good idea. You just want to be careful as you reform it that you don't disadvantage any particular industry.
On a federal level, what do members need to know about the upcoming potential tax plans?
Well, at the national level, the Republicans are putting forward their plan, the Ryan plan. Dave Camp, the head of Ways and Means, is writing a specific tax reform out. They're looking at taking the corporate and individual tax rate to 25%. As it's being discussed, it looks very pro-growth, very helpful, protects the oil and natural gas industry from the targeted tax hikes that the Democrats want to impose. When Democrats say tax reform, they have a different list of things in mind, and they start with raising taxes on oil and natural gas.
What's your message here today?
That in Washington, D.C., there's going to be gridlock for a number of years because Republicans will not give Obama what he wants, which is higher taxes and more spending. Obama and the Democrats will not give the Republicans in the House what they want, which is tax reform, reforming entitlements. So until we get an all-Republican or all-Democrat House, Senate, and presidency, little moves in Washington. At the state level, there are 25 states like Louisiana with united Republican government. They can move in the right direction very quickly. There are 12 states with united Democrat government, and sadly, so far, they're all moving to higher income taxes, higher sales taxes, and more spending.
How important is the oil and gas industry in Louisiana to the whole nation?
Well, oil and natural gas in Louisiana and around the country provides the energy that makes the country work. So it's hugely important, and we ought not to be regulating and taxing it to damage it. We ought to be getting the government out of the way.
If people have questions or like more information about the industry, what should they do?
Well, they can go to our website, LOGA.LA, and there they can get all kinds of information there from what we do, all the presentations that we have, speeches, columns, all kinds of different sources for information.